Now, more than ever, we need to focus on stories of strength, courage, and unity. Welcome to COVID Talks, a series dedicated to promoting positive conversations during uncertain times.
All right, so I think we're back for the second time. If anyone is watching on Facebook or any of the social networks,
Marco's watching. I see woohoo.
Yeah, Mr. Lantry and I, we guess we had a green screen that we didn't mean to, but in any event, we are here and hopefully we're live.
I think we're live. Marco, tell us if we're live.
We're live. All right, good. That's the beauty of technology. I've been working hard to make it work, and at the end of the day, we're not sure. So if we are in fact live, I see little eyeballs now up in the top corner. All right. So welcome to the series premiere of COVID Talks, a web series dedicated to promoting conversations of positivity during uncertain times. We're here with my good friend, Mr. Brendan Lantry, to talk about positive news in the midst of what I view as chaos. So Mr. Lantry himself had a bout with the coronavirus, so we're going to ask him some questions about that. We're also going to ask him about his youth, what it means to be a Staten Islander, how the community has come together during what is a horrific time, and then sort of riff a little bit. And if we have any time at the end, I think now that we actually are live, we're going to actually accept some questions. So with that, Mr. Lantry, if you could tell our audience a little bit about yourself, when you grew up, where you went to school, give us some background and some history.
So, as Anthony said, I'm a lifelong Staten Islander. I went to St. Joseph by the Sea High School, St. John's University, and St. John's Law School. I live here in Staten Island in Oakwood with my wife. I've been the chairman of the Republican Party for a little bit over 2 years now. Working to elect some fine candidates this year, which I'm sure we'll get into later on.
We'll talk politics later, my friend.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess just you want me to go into what transpired over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, sure. So give us that story from the beginning.
Sure. So Friday the 13th, I got home and wasn't feeling too well. Thankfully, I skipped out on my usual Friday night plans where I get together with friends. I think they were all really happy about that I skipped out that night.
I'm sure I know at least one individual who's happy you weren't at his house.
So I started feeling the same symptoms that a lot of people are feeling: shortness of breath and fever and chills. I didn't have the cough that a lot of other people have, and so I just self-quarantined. I just stayed in. I started that day, and I was in for a couple of weeks. Thank you, Joe Borelli. Looking at the comments here. So I stayed in for a couple of weeks, and then things kind of reached an apex about a week in, and the breathing started to get worse and worse, and I did go to the ER, and they told me, they took a chest X-ray, and they took my oxygen levels, and they said, you don't have pneumonia, you have corona, you're going to have breathing issues, and so. Funny story about when I was leaving the hospital that day, I was walking out, and I went to where they have the booth to pay, and the person I had a mask on, and I told her, I said, I have corona. You still want my money? And she said, yes.
You don't get away with nothing.
It was $6. They took corona for $6. I thought it was insane. Anyway, so I'd say the next day, I started feeling better. So about 8 days in, I started the breathing was getting remarkably better. You know, when people talk about the breathing issues, just to give people context, it's kind of when you breathe in, you kind of hit a wall. You know, you can't breathe beyond a certain point. And so about 8 days in, that went away. That started retreating, and a few days after that, I felt like myself again. So I then called the New York State Department of Health, and I got retested. They called me back a few hours later, brought me in the next day. I know that a lot of our elected officials have been saying that there's been a lot of problems with a lot of folks who are trying to get testing and trying to use that drive-through facility. My own experience, it was great. I was in and out in 10 minutes just by calling the whatever 1-800 or 518 or 516 number, whatever it was. And so I got a test result a couple of days later that I was negative. So thank God I came through it. Thank God I came through it healthy. I know a lot of people are struggling with this, and my thoughts and prayers go out to those people who have lost their lives and loved ones. But I think what you're doing is great here, Anthony. I think that it's important that We do talk about those positive stories. We do, there's a lot of people I've spoken with in the past week who had the same story as me. They had the same experience. Maybe they haven't gotten retested, because I know a lot of people have had some difficulty getting the retests. Hopefully we start to have the antibody tests come out soon, so that more people will know that they're good now. But a lot of people are getting better, and I think this is going to be a tough week for us, because obviously there's a delay and there's a lag in the test results coming out. But I'd say sometime in the next week, I think we're going to start seeing more stories like mine. A lot of more people coming out there knowing that they are, that they've recovered.
So tell us a little bit about what it was like telling your wife, the beautiful Jessica, who I'm fortunate enough to be friends with. What was that like? What were your emotions? How did that feel?
No symptoms whatsoever. She keeps calling herself Superwoman. So she, we saw it coming. Those days I was, staying in the guest bedroom and staying away, and just the symptoms were consistent with what everything you were hearing and reading. So she was great. She was fantastic. She cooked. She cleaned. She did everything. Again, not one symptom. Either she didn't catch it from me because we were pretty disciplined, or she caught it and she doesn't have any symptoms. But so she's in great shape. I want to thank also some other friends, all the people who reached out to me. I know Frank Morano came by and brought groceries to Jess a couple of times, which was great.
Frank Morano's the best. Shout out to Frank Morano.
Yes. But people have just been, been fantastic, and Jessica was great.
So give us a little bit of what it's like to have been in the midst of what I am now calling, and what most people are calling, because it's true, being in the midst of the heroes, the first line of defense, the medical professionals. When you went to get tested, just try and paint a picture for us, or you read me, because I wasn't there. I haven't been there. I read about it, but I don't know what is it like?
Yeah. So things have changed so much over the past couple of weeks, day to day. So I know the testing has changed, the methodology and the amount. So when I went to the Northwell urgent care, I called ahead, and then they told me to come down and went in with a mask, and I went to the urgent care. It was the one by Goodfellas on Highland. And they have you go into a room, they keep you in there. Person comes in, full gown, it's not a hazmat, but pretty covered. And they started doing the swabs up the nose. It's uncomfortable. They did that down the nose and down the throat, and then they did, I think also, I think they did a flu test as well. And so they say that they were going to give you a call in a few days to let you know. I never got the phone call. I actually kept getting text messages saying you're even, days after I ultimately got the results, by going online, because you can go online and get your results through the portal. I was still getting text messages saying your results are pending. We'll get them to you soon. Maybe 4 days after I got my results, 5 days, still getting those text messages, which I thought was funny. But that was that. When I went to the ER that day, there was one physician's assistant. Her name was Francesca. I want to particularly thank her. She was fantastic. They put you kind of in a bubble room, where they did a chest X-ray and they kept you isolated from everybody else. But they were very compassionate. That was, I think, before the big surge. I can't imagine what the ERs are like right now, with people with symptoms that were much worse than mine were. But they were very compassionate. They were fantastic. And listen, I know a lot of people have had some challenging experiences with doctors. Prior to going to the ER, I tried to contact a pulmonologist, somebody in Manhattan, to try to do one of these virtual sessions. It didn't mean it. It didn't do anything, right? They just said to you, take Tylenol and, just,
if you don't feel good, go to bed. Lay down. You'll be all right.
Yeah, lay down. You'll be all right. Exactly. I know that's frustrating, but the folks at SIUH were really just fantastic.
So as a lifelong Staten Islander and as the chairman of the Republican Party, you're well known in the community. So this is kind of a loaded question, but I know you're going to have a good answer. During times of struggle, Staten Island, well, let me rephrase this. In general, Staten Island is always the forgotten borough, right? No one cares about Staten Island, but yet anytime there's something bad that happens, anytime there's a tragedy, 9/11, most recently Hurricane Sandy, and now this, there's something to be said about Staten Islanders, because we band together unlike any other borough, unlike any other group of people. And as a Staten Islander, more than anyone I know, I have friends in Jersey, Florida, all across the country. And they even have commented in times of devastation and tragedy like we're facing now, how amazing Staten Island is and how they band together. And yet on the opposite end of the spectrum, you look at the media that has, the Real Housewives of Staten Island and has mob wives. So talk a little bit about what it means to be a Staten Islander and how you feel the community has come together.
It's funny, when I was just listening to you talk about those instances, it's got to be really frustrating for Staten Islanders, right? It's frustrating for us because we're so used to going out there and just reacting and giving our time and our energy to help people in crisis. You talk about Sandy and people down in South Beach and Oakwood Beach and New York Beach and wherever else on Staten Island, pitching in, physically being there and helping out. And same thing on 9/11, people who went down, Anthony Reinhardt, people I know who went down and volunteered at Ground Zero in the days and weeks afterwards. The way we help people is by taking a step back and not engaging and not being physically out there, and us just staying in isolation. And I know that a lot of people financially are taking a significant hit over this, so it's very difficult for people to give their finances. But I know that there's so many restaurants that have been out there and have donated food and have donated whatever they can to help the nurses and different medical professionals at SIUH and Rumsey. Scott Lebedo doing thank you signs in front of the hospitals, which is a beautiful thing to see. So there's just been so much positivity, but I think we're all frustrated that we can't actually do more because we need to follow those directives of staying inside. And I'm just going to say, and that, in my personal experience, I haven't found I don't know of anybody who contracted the illness from me, because I think I followed the protocols. I stayed in quarantine in those, as soon as I started feeling the symptoms, and I see Joe Borelli on here making quite a few jokes. And 3 days before I started developing symptoms, I was at a fundraiser with him, and we were doing the elbows, we were doing the punches, and I was passing around hand sanitizer. That's what we had to do, and I think people have been responsible here in Staten Island, and I'm hopeful and that in the coming days we're going to start seeing a significant drop.
So what's words of wisdom, right? So everyone's going stir crazy in the house. I'm sure you're going stir crazy. I know I've been going stir crazy. What we're doing right now is a result of the craziness, to be quite honest. But what words of encouragement do you have? I mean, do you think it's going to get better? How soon? If you could prognosticate,
I mean,
your guess.
Everybody's a medical expert right now, right? I'm predicting models, things I know nothing about, right? So we all think we're experts at all this stuff. So I can't give an opinion as to when this is going to end, because I have no idea. But I can tell you from my own personal experience as to those who have it and those who are afraid of having it. We obviously have the folks who are older and who have asthmatic and other issues that they need to take particular precaution. But the vast majority of us, and I'm not the most athletic person, let's just be honest, right? So I
would attest to that, yeah.
So, but the majority of us, you get it. It's terrible. It's not fun. It's there's certain moments in snaps in time while you have it that it's particularly challenging. But we get over it, right? We get over the illness, and now, knock on wood, I believe that I have the antibodies. I'm hoping to get one of those tests whenever that's available. I volunteered with Mount Sinai, but I haven't gotten a call back.
Not to interrupt you. So you mentioned that to me in a call that we had. So talk a little bit about, again, something I've read, but I don't have any intimate knowledge of it. How and what are procedures put in place so that if there are individuals who have been infected with the virus, they're able to donate plasma or blood, or what? Yeah. What is that protocol?
Yeah. So Vinny Ignazio, who I think I've made a comment or two on this already too, and some others had.
I'm sure he's making some snide comments somewhere if he's watching.
If you read them, then we're not going to be able to talk, right? Yeah. So I know that there's an email address. Maybe if somebody wants to post it here, there's an email address that you can email at Mount Sinai, and I'm sure other hospitals are doing this as well. But certainly they put it out there that you can you send an email, and I sent the email offering to donate blood to help with. For use as antibodies for folks who have it, and for their testing and for the work that they're doing. And then they sent back an automatic reply with a questionnaire to fill out. And then you fill out the questionnaire, and then they make a determination as to whether or not you're a candidate for whatever testing that they're doing. So I guess I wasn't a candidate because I haven't got an email back yet. So,
but if they were to contact you, do you know what the next steps would be, or you don't have any idea?
I don't. You know, I assume it's going into Manhattan and giving blood, or going to Quest Diagnostics and somewhere locally and giving blood for purposes of their testing. I assume that it probably would have a dual benefit to you and to the public, right? You would know if you have the antibodies, but then also you'd be serving the public's best interest by, perhaps allowing them to use that blood for some other folks to for their testing. But that's speculation. I mean, I don't really know.
Do you think anybody would actually want your plasma to begin with, or no?
I was talking to somebody today, and again, we're all medical experts right now, but I'm hearing that perhaps folks with different blood types are more susceptible than others. So that's something, that's something that may be coming out in the coming days as well. So,
well, good. So, I mean, we've run for about 19 minutes, and okay. I got to admit, I'm pretty proud of it because we really don't have any idea what we're doing. Glad everything is working. But do you have any, any sort of final words, closing remarks that, because again, one of the secondary goals of my creating this is, as you know, I have a 3-month-old son who turned 3 months old yesterday. And one of my thoughts was that eventually he's going to be reading about this in a textbook, or he's going to be looking at it in a hologram, whatever he's going to be doing at that time, 16 years from now. And the website, the content, the shows, the people that we're going to try and bring on, kids will be able to Google it and see that, during this time when you're going to get all the articles of horror and terror and, bad things, there was a glimmer of hope in there. They'll be able to Google it. We picked a good name so that they'll find it, and it'll act as a repository. So let's make believe, me and you, Brendan, we're 50 years old right now, and we're talking about what would be a message you would want to send yourself. How about that? That's an easy way to ask it.
That's an easy question, right?
Sure.
What would
I wish I looked better, or I wish I was in better shape.
What would I, when I was 50 years old, telling myself now? What would I tell myself when I'm okay?
What would you tell yourself? Do it both ways.
Okay, all right. So what would a 50-year-old, I guess, tell myself now? I would tell myself, and I would tell the public that we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, and we're going to be stronger than ever. And I think our economy is going to rebound. So many businesses are shuttered. I think that once we're able to go out there, everybody's going to want to be going to Giovanni's and coming out to dinner, right?
I hope so.
We're going to be entering the summer months. I don't imagine people are going to be traveling quite as much because they're using a lot of their vacation time, right now because of the economy. But I think we're going to rebound. I think we're going to rebound very strong in the coming weeks. And I think that's what we need to keep in mind right now. One thing, I guess, before we go to the questions, I know you told me you wanted to ask questions. I know you had me on also in the context of the party. So
that's where I was going to go next. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I guess
can you hold that thought?
Sure.
Hold that thought for 1 second.
Sure.
We're gonna quickly go to a way that the folks at home, if anyone's watching, can stay in touch.
Okay.
So anyone that's watching, we encourage you to visit us at our Facebook page at COVID Talk. You can follow us there. Visit us at covid-talks.com on the web. And you can also text the word talks to the number 31 31 31. And we will keep you updated with live texts of upcoming shows and upcoming guests. Speaking of which, tomorrow night, for better or for worse, we have my good friend Massimo Dodana from Partners in Sound will be joining us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And unlike some of the other live streams you may have seen him in recently, we're going to get him focused, and we're going to get him talking about what's actually going on in the event industry. Right now, the event industry is completely shut down. So what does that mean? Where do we go moving forward? If you're a bride or a mom or a dad and your son or daughter or your wedding was canceled, what are you going to do? So tomorrow night, we encourage you to join us at 7 p.m. Same station. And we're back with Mr. Lantry.
While we were away, I was looking at some of the comments on the left on the screen here. Joe Borelli, I am wearing pants. I can't speak for Anthony Rapacciolo.
None of your business, Borelli. All right, so let's go to the loaded questions. And now we're going to be completely. Let's rephrase this.
Sure.
we are going to attempt to be politically agnostic.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's best.
What do you feel about the way? So I guess I have a twofold question. One is, personally, I feel and I see that the media has been able to transform what people think of certain politicians in a positive way, and I will not name the politicians. But at the end of the day, there's only so much these guys can do. Mm-hmm. Every elected official, from the president to the assemblyman, right? So, talk about their role and what you feel they're doing right, and not what they're doing wrong. But do you think, because I don't really think there's anything more they can do, but what are, you're the expert. What do you think?
I think, I guess there's all different layers of government here, right? We have obviously the president and what Congress has done and what the governor's been doing and what our local leaders are doing. And then also from my perspective is the next generation, the candidates, people who are trying to become the next, generation of elected officials. So, everybody's got their commentary in terms of the president and the governor and this week is, been budget week as well. So, I know the governor's been doing the press conferences every day. And I think he's been giving people a lot of information and providing some consistency there. And then,
well, not to interrupt you, but that was the elected official I was talking about when I said a lot of people are being swayed in favor of. So, I mean, I just find it interesting because, people both across social media and even in traditional digital and print media, you've had staunch proponents of one guy who now are advocates thinking, the guy's a hero.
Yeah.
People are comparing him to their grandfather.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. So,
you want my opinion?
Yes.
All right, you want my opinion. So I will say this, right? So I'm sitting there every day. We're all sitting there every day. 12 o'clock, we know that Governor Cuomo comes on. He does his press conference. Somewhere in the middle, between 12 and 5, de Blasio, some press conference comes up 45 minutes late. And then we have the president get up and he does his hour and a half with Dr. Fauci and with Dr. Birx and everybody else. And the governor I think he's brought us a sense of calm. He's brought us steady leadership in this time. I think he's done a great job in a lot of respects, organizing a lot of facets of our government here. In the course of the past week, there's been a number of things that he's done that I don't agree with, right? And a lot of the finger pointing back and forth between him and the White House and in the budget right now, I think he's using a lot of the political capital that he's received from the work that he's done here. The work that he's done fighting the COVID virus to sneak certain things into the budget that are just not in the best interest of the people of New York State. Dealing with
agnostic, remember.
What do you say?
Agnostic, remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, you asked me a question. How's Andrew Cuomo doing? How am I supposed to respond to that?
Well, all right, so make it like a 30,000 foot approach.
Okay, 30,000 foot approach. I think Andrew Cuomo net positive. I'd say the president net positive, and Bill de Blasio has been atrocious. I mean, that's my 2 cents. And I think our local leaders have been doing a great job as well, because I think they recognize there's certain things that they're doing, advocacy that they're doing, and holding the mayor and the Department of Health and different facets of government accountable. But at the same time, a lot of times I see them just, they're promoting the governor, they're promoting the president's messages, because to be quite honest, that's what we need to hear right now. And we don't need elected officials tripping over themselves to get credit, which is why I think it's fantastic that they're all doing joint letter writing operations, joint appearances, not joint appearances, but I guess joint letter writing and joint advocacy, because this isn't a partisan issue, right? So this is I'm glad to see that they're all working together so well.
Because it's not a political issue. This isn't a global attack on humanity, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it sounds terrible to say it that way, but that's what we're facing. It's not necessarily about a political party. It's about getting together. And I went to the comments, so I know Mike Bloomfield is there, who I don't know what his comments are yet, but he has his political views. But even he has said to me from the other side of the fence that it's really not about politics. It's just people coming together, and we need to do what we need to do to just overcome and return to normalcy in life.
There's going to be plenty of time after this is over. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. I'm already seeing Joe Biden's ads running. I can just imagine some of the Trump ads that are going to run about, Chuck Schumer saying, "Oh my God, how could they close the border? How could they close travel to China?" So there's going to be plenty of time for politics after this is all said and done. But one of the things I want to note is also the candidates, right? So, right now, anybody I'm not sure who's actually watching this. I know that a few folks I see here, some familiar faces, but people normally are used to right now. They see lawn signs going up. They see advertisements on social media. We'd be talking about, the speed cameras and bail reform and Rikers Island and, all of these issues. And it's really challenging for candidates who are running right now on both sides of the aisle to run, because we have a primary in 2 months from now, where people are running for Congress, people are running for state assembly and for other positions in primaries. And they can't articulate their message as to why they think they're in the best interest of Staten Island, or this is going on all around the country. And so, that's just particularly challenging for them. I just wanted to kind of note that as well, that, you see some of these candidates who you may have started hearing, they're just kind of getting their names out there, and then this crisis happened, and now their whole campaign is just kind of on pause, because you don't want to be politically insensitive right now. You want to. People need to be focusing on what's important, which is staying inside and following these directives. So.
And no one knows the answer, but is there any way possible that come November things could be moved, postponed? Is there any internal? Somewhere in the totem pole, that message has to travel.
So we have the primary, which is scheduled for June 23rd, right? So we have a number of different primaries. There's a primary for Congress. There's a primary for state assembly on the East Shore. There's a primary for state Senate on the North Shore, Democratic primary. The others are Republican primaries. So there's talk about that possibly being moved. The thing is, they moved the presidential primary from April to June. So Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are still in the race. So that now got moved to June. The Democratic convention is in July. Now today that was announced that was moved to August. So, how much further could they move it? They can't move the primary past August, because that's when the convention is. So I think there's a possibility that the June primary gets moved maybe to July. I'm not sure. But as far as a November election being pushed, I can't see it. There's talk about, remote voting. There's a lot of different movement in the legislature, which is, historically, there's past, year or two when the Democrats took full control of the state Senate and state assembly and the governor, that they've been trying to move for more remote voting. So that may happen. But I pray and I hope that this is all well behind us come November 3rd.
Would we be able to do any other sort of polling and voting other than the old way we've been doing it?
Yeah, there are proposals of doing some kind of remote voting. We obviously have absentee voting, which they could expand to include everybody, whether you have an illness or you're out of town or anything like that. You can have remote voting. You can have absentee voting for everybody. But that's an administrative nightmare, and you're going to see a significant decrease in the number of people who vote, I think, if you have all around absentee voting. So that's just my 2 cents.
All right. So it is now 7:30. So
Okay.
let's see if we have anything in the comment section. You could see them as well, right?
There was one that I haven't looked at all of them, but
there's multiple ones that I'm reading and laughing out loud. But if anyone has any serious actual questions for Brendan as to
there was one that I saw that it was further up that they were asking me, can you get it again? And I'm told no. I was told from doctors no, that there's these extreme situations. There's always these extreme situations of the 1 or 2 cases in Wuhan, or where people do relapse and they do get it again, or maybe they had it in their system the whole time. What did you see? You probably thought something funny.
I'm laughing at Borelli's comment. Go ahead.
Oh God, they're all hilarious. Or you have some of these extreme situations where somebody has it in their system for longer than several weeks, up to 25 days, some crazy numbers you've seen. But those are all extreme situations. As far as I'm aware, as far as I understand, I'm good. I have antibodies. Knock on wood. I get a test that will show those soon enough. But I obviously I have the negative test, which I was very, very happy about. But no, from what I understand, I don't think you can get it again. But again, I'm not a doctor. I defer to the doctor. Maybe you can have a
Play
doctor.
one on the webcast.
What'd you say?
You just play one on the webcast.
Are you going to have a doctor come on one of these shows?
So I'm sifting through the nonsense, and George Wanaka actually has. Do you see George's question in front of you, Brendan? No. Any opinion of the budget bill for the state?
Yeah. So there was over the course of the past 72 hours, there's been a number of budget bills that have been passed. As I said, there were a lot of things thrown in there that were, some of which just make us continue to operate, and we have to make sure we pay all of our first responders, and we're paying our core personnel, every facet of government, that we're making sure that we're operating. But there were a number of things that were thrown into the budget bill that have nothing to do with the budget, right? So they created a public financing system so that now our tax dollars are going to be used to pay for Governor Cuomo, for any opponent of Governor Cuomo, for anybody running for comptroller, attorney general, state, senate, assembly. Our tax dollars are going to be used to pay for their campaigns, to pay for their political consultants and their mailers and all that stuff. So that was now put into a budget. So we have this massive shortfall in our budget. Yet we're going to start using our tax dollars to pay for people's political campaigns. They styrofoam ban, fracking ban, a number of different things that were thrown into this. Third parties, maybe George is interested from that perspective as well. You see when you go into the ballot, you see the Democratic, Republican, Conservative, and all these other party lines, Green and Independents and Serve America movement, SAM Party. All those parties are basically going to go out the window. It's just going to be Democrat, Republican, Conservative, because the governor and the state legislature just basically set new caps so that all those new parties are going to basically go out the window. And now there's only going to be essentially two parties, but a third party, the Conservative Party in New York State. So that's what's going on, George.
Very, very good. So what's funny? I'm reading my good friend Joe Borelli's comments, and I'm enjoying them. But what makes me wonder is, what's worse, us doing this or the fact that he's watching it and idly making comments? Of the two, who's actually worse, right? So it's like, All right, so we're going to take a quick pause. I want to bring up how to stay in touch with us, and then, Mr. Lantry, we're going to come back to you for a closing remark, if that's all right with you.
Sounds good.
So once again, be sure to follow us at Facebook at COVID Talk. Visit us at covid/talks.com. And also you can text the word talks to 313131. Tomorrow night, we have our next guest. Our next guest is going to be Mr. Massimo Dodana from Partners in Sound. He's going to be joining us to talk about all things related to the entertainment industry. Also on deck next week, we're going to have Fox 5 News anchor Ernie Anastas talking with us about what's going on in the media. We've also got my good friend Danny Casella, president of the Amalgamated Transit Union here on Staten Island. He's going to be talking with us about what's going on in the transit union and any transit-related issues as it relates to the COVID-19 virus. So since we launched this, we've actually gotten a good support. And if you have anyone interested in being a guest, please let us know. It would be our pleasure to get you on. And with that, we are going to head back to our friend, Mr. Lantry. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us on our premiere. It means a lot to me to have you. I consider you a great friend of mine. I thank you for your time. And just quick positive closing remark. What do you got for the 50 people watching?
Oh, is it 50? Okay, that's nice. So I would just say this. I pray that we all get out of this very soon. I look forward to us having a few drinks at Giovanni's over the summer. We all just can't wait for that moment to come. I'm praying it's in the next few weeks, May 1st, that's when we start getting back to society and opening businesses up. And my thoughts and prayers are with those who have been lost. But I just what I articulated to the Advents and what I wanted to say here tonight, and I think it's great what you're doing is that we do need to focus on the positive. We do need to focus on the fact that most of us, the vast majority of us, are going to get through this. It's going to be difficult, but after a week and a half, 2 weeks, once you get it, you don't have it anymore, and you're able to go on and function, and we do get better. And that's the thing I really wanted to articulate, is that we do get better, and and just everybody stay safe, stay inside for the next few weeks, and we'll get through this together.
All right. So, Brendan, thanks for being with us. For those watching at home, thanks for being a part of the series premiere of COVID Talks, Positive Conversations During Uncertain Times. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 when we bring on Massimo Dodana. Thanks.
Bye.